Thank you so much for joining our presentation today. So today we will talk about why Richmond and the Richmond difference, our undergraduate degree programs, internships, and study abroad. And we will go in more practical issues, which are tuitions and scholarships and how you are going to apply. And in the end, we were going to have Q&A. After we finish this presentation, which will be an overall presentation for Richmond, and we have with us one of our students, Bonnie. She's going to talk a little bit about her experience in Richmond. And then we have Ira Konstantinou, who is the program leader for psychology program, and she's going to go into more details about the structure of the program and what you were going to expect to see in the program. And then in the end, we will close with us with the admission session. So we have the director of admission, Gemma, who is going to talk a little bit more about the admissions process. So I would like to start the presentation with a quick COVID update. We acknowledge that the current situation in higher education may concern you. We offer a blended options last fall with face-to-face classes and online classes. So this spring all classes are online. And we have worked hard to ensure the safety of our students by applying changes on campus, social distancing for our students and staff. We have a significant advantage being a small university, which have helped a lot in monitoring these changes. It is much easier compared to big universities. We also have done an internal survey and 90% of our students said that they feel safe on campus. So also we monitor the government guidance and will update all our students, of course, you through application communication. We are expecting to have face-to-face classes for a fall semester, of course, always following government guidance. So we are very much looking forward to the face-to-face teaching in September. So Richmond is a unique university in the UK, which offers students US and UK degrees. We have a pioneering liberal arts framework, and what is extraordinary about it is the fact that students will have the choice to select their major and minor and plenty of freedom to pursue an internship across the globe. The liberal arts framework enables students to become much of a global citizen and having a broadened set of skills which will help them to grow as individuals through campus community, social engagement, internship, study abroad, and more. Richmond, as my colleagues and our students could say, is a hidden gem in London. It is a university that develops students as individuals and as team members to face changes that are happening in political, social, and cultural environment, but also the challenging in their future careers, which are evolving through times. All these are possible by giving them options and opportunities. As I mentioned, dual accreditation, UK and US degrees, which are widely recognized by employers. A London experience with campuses in Richmond and Kensington. But what is fascinating about Richmond is the small class sizes aspect, which gives students opportunity to cultivate bonds with lecturers and their peers. Students have collaborated in a research field or projects that lecturers participate or work on. So another element of the small class sizes is building student confidence. Either you are outgoing or shy, you have to engage in the classroom, which teaching is not just taking notes, but heavily engaging with lecturers and peers. I am sure that Ira will elaborate more in that later. So we all know that first year of the degree can be daunting for students, away from home, new environment, new people, full weeks of studies. We all have been there. So to make things run smoothly, we appoint a personal academic advisor to each student from the first day they arrive on campus. This academic advisor will help students with academic side of things, picking minors, choosing options for study abroad, or applying for internship. As a small university, we are proud to have a large, diverse international student body, which means that in a class of 25, 19, or 20 may be from different countries. We offer generous scholarships, which are automatically awarded. These are merit-based scholarships that are available to all students. Once your place is confirmed, you will be informed of the scholarship you are eligible, and this will be deducted from your tuition fees. We also offer internships, which are integrated in your program. So they are credit-bearing, which means they are part of your program. And I'm going to talk a little bit more later in the presentation. We offer accommodation to all our new students. And also all students have a choice of studying abroad with one of our partners. And I'm going to explain later in the presentation about the study abroad. But what all this means to you in practical terms? Well, 2 degrees, British and American, we have 93% graduate employment rate. That means that 93% of our graduates are in full-time education or in full-time graduate employment after 6 months of leaving university. So as Richmond graduate, you will become part of our alumni network. We have a large alumni network, around 15,000 from 140 countries. And this is a great resource for you to utilize either for networking or employment opportunities. And we have quite a lot alumni who offer internship to our students, or they offer employment. So I'm sure that we have US students today that they know about the liberal arts aspect, but just to highlight to our UK and European and international students, some of the key differences between a UK degree and a liberal arts degree. So in the liberal arts framework, you enter and declare, as we call it, and you don't need to pick your major until the end of the first year. This gives flexibility to you to change the major. For example, you might take classes in economics but also some classes in psychology, and you find out that psychology is what you want to pursue as a career. So you can change your major from economics to psychology or any other major. We have a great range of electives. Students typically study 10 classes a year, and within that you might have 3, 4, or 5 will be electives, and we have around 20 or 30 electives for you to choose. Also, you can choose a minor as a field of your study, which do not need to be related to your major. This could be, for example, a major in psychology and a minor in marketing, or a minor in advertising, or a minor in communication and social media, for example. And this, all this will complement your studies. And also it will give you many job opportunities, since you will have a wider skill set from someone who study only psychology. We have a great student body where students come from different parts of the world. For US students, will study the program in 4 years, and for some UK students will study in 3 or 3 years and a half, according to your qualification, which will dictate how many classes you will take and how long it will take for you to graduate. And of course, as I mentioned, integrated internships. So for us, it's part of the program, but for many UK universities, it's not. It's an option. It's not part of the program. And for all our students have to study what we call liberal arts curriculum, and this will be over the course of your first year. A lot of students from US and other countries will have to do the whole year, as it shows in the slides, plus modules from other subjects, and will be 4 years for them. Where students from UK, or particular from European countries, if you, for example, have A-levels or IB or certain other qualification which we will check, you can skip these classes, as you have already done, you may have already done some of them. So we will guide through the process, and we will inform you which classes will be removed from your first year. So all students are treated in a more personal level. We look at your qualifications, the classes and the grades you got, and then we tailor your pathway. So employers recognize the wide range of skills that our students develop thanks to the structure of our multidisciplinary programs. Our graduates are attractive to employers because of their range of intellectual skills, their adaptability, their capacity to make creative decisions, and independence of mind. So liberal arts students prepare students to be prepared for their future. So I know that everyone here is for psychology, but just to mention you what programs we have, because these programs, they might be your minors as well. So in business department, we have entrepreneurship, international business, fashion management and marketing, economics, finance and investment, accounting and finance, and international sports management, which is taught in Leeds, which is in North England. And in order for you to apply for this program, you have to play football. You have to play 20 hours football and 15 hours classes. So that is a requirement. And in the communication, art and social sciences degree, we have the American studies, art, history and visual culture, advertising and PR, media studies, digital communication, social media, film and photography, film studies, international history, international relations, political science, and finally psychology, which everybody is here for psychology, which is accredited by the British Psychology Society, but also by the Psyche Society in US. So immediately you are going to have 2 accreditation again. And I mentioned the programs because, as I said, you can combine your major with a minor. Your major will be psychology, and the minor can be anything from these programs. We have many minors. We have more than, I think this year we had around 25 minors. Also, we have the 3-year pathway programs where students from, for example, A-levels or IB, they can skip some modules and they can study for 3 years. Of course, the psychology program, because we have so many accreditation for the psychology, it's you have to study in 4 years. Ira will explain that later, and also I'm sure that admissions will explain more about this pathway. And for the internship, as I mentioned, we have a comprehensive internship program, which is one of the oldest here in London. So Richmond is offering internship programs since late 70s. We have a pool of companies we work with, either in London, UK, or in other parts of the world. And what is captivated about our internship program is the fact that can be delivered anywhere in the world, not just in London. For example, I had a student, he graduated in 2019, who did an internship in Argentina, one in Europe and one in London, and now works for Bloomberg as an analyst. So the students need to maintain 3.0 GPA throughout their program, and it can be in the third year. Of course, you can do more than one internship, but one it will be credit. The length of the program is 8 to 10 weeks, and it is available through a fall, spring, or summer. So the internship, as I said, is fully credit, which means that you need to do a report and a presentation, but also your supervisor, your manager in the company will write a report for you, and based on your performance, but also a report for you. So it's not just like going and making coffee or printing. You are going to be part of the team. For example, if you are in psychology, if you do like a psychology internship, then you are going to work in the within the team. Or in marketing, for example, you will be part of the planning, for example, campaign. So it's an actual work. And some comments from our alumni, such as Katrina, highlighting how the liberal arts degree made her stand out when she got a job at Ernst & Young. So she graduated in economics, and because she had this broadened curriculum from liberal arts, she stood out among the other applicants. Her employer believes she had a better critical thinking among the the other applicants. And Miriam was an intern for MP John Crudas, and she currently is an international relations student, and she did the internship at the House of Parliament. So now I am going to introduce you to Bonnie, who is our current student, and she's going to talk a little bit about her experience in Richmond.
Thank you. So hi everyone, my name is Bonnie Alsup. I'm a sophomore or a second year here at Richmond. My major is marketing, and I've just recently added a minor in digital studies. And a fun fact about me is that I was born, raised, and am like a citizen of different countries that are on different continents. So obviously choosing college is a really, really big decision, and you probably made lots of pros and cons lists trying to decide on where to go. But Richmond, for me, the biggest factor to it was the location and the flexibility. So Richmond is located in London. Richmond, for those of you who don't know, it's like in central, but it's a little bit on the outside. So you get like the feel of central London, but without being directly in the center, which is really nice. It's like 30 minutes away by tube. So you can just pop down after class with your friends or on the weekend. Richmond itself is like more of a residential area. It's really pretty. There's a lot of green space, and it feels very safe as well. Like I never feel like unsafe when I'm walking around in the city, even like late at night when it's dark. So the US and the UK degree was also a pretty big factor in me choosing. I'm an American citizen, but I wanted to study in London. So when I found Richmond and I was like, oh, it's like a US system, but in London, like it was like perfect. As well for flexibility, the liberal arts program lets you choose like your degree like very personally. Like you can pretty much pick, there's a lot of options for you if you want to change, if you want to add a minor. I actually started as a psychology major. I came in my first year I did as a psychology major, and then I added a marketing minor. And I was in my marketing class. I was like, wow, I really like marketing. So then I switched to marketing. But I can say like firsthand, the psych program here is really, really good. I've loved all of my psych classes, and the professors as well were super helpful. Richmond has small class sizes, which is really nice because you get the not one-on-one, but like interaction with your teacher. They recognize you, they know your face, they know your name. And you get to sort of form like a relationship with them that you might not have at a bigger school. As well, Richmond was founded on the principle of unity and diversity. And I know it's been talked about before, but the student body is very diverse. We have people here from like all over the world. I have friends from all over the world now, and it's really cool to be able to talk with them and just learn about different cultures and different things. As well, Richmond, the school is quite small, but it's really nice because you form a really close-knit community. I recognize the people who I see when I'm walking around campus, and I know the faces of the students in my classes and in my major because Richmond provides that close, small feeling. Um, as well, Richmond has a lot of study abroad opportunities, which I'm hoping to take advantage of when we're allowed to travel again. So here at Richmond, we have a lot of academic opportunities through like clubs and different internships and different career panels. Specifically for psychology, there's the Richmond Psychology Association, and they put on a lot of events that you can attend. They have a lot of career panels. They have this thing called, they bring Doug the Pug every year. And so you get to go see him. He's like a therapy dog. But also there's Psych High, which is like the Psychology Honor Society that you can join as well. For extracurriculars, if you want to also do things that just interest you that aren't necessarily related to psychology, we have like theater club, dance club, just a bunch of different other clubs that you can join and things that you can do for fun on the side along with your psychology degree. The student government here at Richmond is always putting on different social activities for you to do. They have like a Halloween night, they have different club nights throughout the year. And they have like the Spring Fest, which is like a big festival they have in the springtime. As well, there's a lot of travel opportunities being in London. You're able to fly to continental Europe for very cheap. You can travel around really easily through the tube, through public transport is really nice here. So yeah, that's my experience at Richmond. So for me, what's in the future is that I am a 2023 graduate from Richmond. So in my next 2 years, so my last junior and senior year, I plan to do an internship with Richmond as well. After I graduate, I hope to either work in either the US or the UK, and I hope to travel more.
I think everyone is looking forward.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Bonnie. Bonnie will be with us. So if you have any questions specifically for her, please put it in the chat and we will answer a bit later the questions. So just to let you know that we, as I mentioned, we have two campuses. One is in Richmond Hill, which is the home for undergraduate students, and the Kensington campus, which is the home for postgraduate students. So Richmond, as Bonnie mentioned, it's a very nice area. It's kind of very, very English area. It's a very posh area as well, so very safe. And there are parks around, and one of the biggest park, I would say, I think it's the biggest park in Europe, which is a Richmond Park. And we have the main building, and in the main building, we have the accommodation as well. So accommodation is on-campus accommodation. And then in Kensington, it's a bit more, it's close to the Kensington garden, where Prince Williams and Kate live. So it's 5 minutes walking from there. So again, it's very, very safe area, very beautiful. Again, a bit different from Richmond, of course. And just to show you where the campuses are, so here is Richmond, and the red line is a fast train. I used to take this train to go to work, and it was between 15 to 20 minutes from Waterloo. And then the green area is the undergrad. So it's around 30 minutes to High Street Kensington and 10 minutes to Buckingham Palace. So High Street Kensington is very close to the Buckingham Palace or Westminster. Of course, here, as I mentioned, it's a Richmond Park where students, they go for fitness activities or just to walk after their busy day. And also they have, there are deers, they are the Queen's deers. And it's a very, very beautiful area, very beautiful area. And of course, I mean, I can talk about this city hours and hours. And I will start with a fact. So did you guys know that there are over 8.4 million trees 300,000 gardens and hectares of green space, which make London pretty much the United Nations definition of a national park. London is one of the most multicultural cities on the planet. Over the last 7 years, London has become the bubble of the modern world. The city is home to more than 270 nationalities and 300 languages. It is the best place to be as an international student. It is consistently voted the world's best city to live and study. There are so many amazing things to see and do outside of the classroom. No matter what you are going to study, either it is psychology or international relations or politics, art, film, business, there are talks, events, and companies to visit, exhibitions, galleries, museums, restaurants, cafes, and I can go on and on and on. There is a beautiful architecture as well to see. All these experiences will complement the learning in the classroom. As we say to our students, London is not just a city, it is a classroom itself. And now about the study abroad, which is really important, and we always push students to go study abroad. So this is a partnership exchange program. So students, Richmond students go to study to other universities across the world. So you are eligible in the second or third year of your, and you have to have a minimum of 3.0 GPA. But what is great about our study abroad, if you want to study abroad in US, is that you pay the Richmond fees and not the US fees, which we all know how high they are. And where students can go, they can go in Europe, including France, Spain, Greece, Germany, Iceland, and Switzerland. In the US, including Los Angeles, New York, and Florida. In Asia, they can go China, Japan, and South Korea. In South America, including Argentina, Ecuador, and Peru. And in Canada and Mexico, and also Australia and New Zealand. And we added the new partners in Africa as well. So basically everywhere in the world. So of course, as any other universities, we have a range of clubs and societies. We have more than listed here. What is advantageous for you if that is you for you is that if you want to start your own club or society, then you can do that. There is funding available. All clubs and societies are students-led and students-run, so really depends on you and what you really want to do. For example, the Fashion Society, they have created the first fashion magazine in the university, and also the first catwalk. They organized the first catwalk in the university, and also the Great British Bake Off Club. It's they bake and they share it with the students. It's really nice because I'm not sure if you know the Great British Bake. That is a television series which is on TV, so it's kind of similar. And then we have the Green Projects, where the students work with the mayor of Richmond in different environmental issues. And of course, we have the Richmond Psychological Association, where I'm sure that Ira will tell more about that. And of course, it's not just like studying, but also having fun. And we have the students' services, which they make sure that you are having fun as well, creating different events for you, activities, travels, of course, before the pandemic, but also we hope into 2020, 2022, we will start traveling normal. So because we are American university, of course, we love Halloween on the Hill and the Thanksgiving Day. So, and then we have the honors night where we honor our students, our best students for each for each program. This is organized on campus, or I think it was organized outside of campus years before the pandemic. And this year, if unfortunately, it was online. And of course, we had the graduation, which is in central London. And I mean, we talked about beautiful things, but how do you make them real, right? So we are going to more practical terms, which are the entry requirements. So we will need a level in A levels, we will need 96 to 112 UCAS points. If you have a US high school diploma, we will need 2.5, which will be the minimum that we accept. International, if you have an IB, we will need 28 IB UCAS IB points. And if you have BTEC, we will need 3M. And of course, if you have an international qualifications, we will check that if it's equivalent to our requirements. Just to mention here that we do not need a standardized test like SAT or ACT. We do not require that. If you have it, that's okay. It's a bonus, but if you don't have it, it's okay. But what we require is English language tests, which we accept IELTS academic, 5.5 in overall or in all components. TOEFL IBT, which is 72 overall, and Cambridge, we will need 162 overall and in all sections. So for the UK students, the tuition fees are 9,250. We award students with the Liberal Arts Award scholarship, which is 3,085. And the SFE tuition loan that they are going to get is 6,165. Even if you choose for the UK students, even if you choose to do the 4-year pathway, again, the loan it's much less than a UK university. The scholarship for EU students, for European students this year for 2021 and spring 2022 will be 5,500. It is available to all EU residents, must have achieved, of course, the university entry requirements. It is valid for fall, as I mentioned, 21 and spring 22 entry. For the international students, our scholarship starts from 2,000 to 4,750. This is a merit scholarship, so the higher the grades, the better the scholarship. And for our USA students, our scholarship starts from $15,200 to $23,000. And again, because it's a merit scholarship, the higher the grades, the better the scholarship. And you can see if you want to get the 23,000, you need to have 3.5 GPA and above. And just to wrap up, the tuition fees for UK students are 9,250. For EU and international students, 14,750. And for the USA students is $38,000. For the program that I mentioned with international sports management with football, the programs cost 23,000 for the UK and includes tuition, accommodation, and academic fee. And for EU and international, and also for US students, is 26,000 pounds. And again, includes tuition, accommodation, and academic fee. And of course, how to apply? We have 3 ways for you to apply. First, it is online application form, which is, you can find it on our website, or from UCAS, or from Common App. We will need a personal statement. In the personal statement, we would like you to talk a little bit about yourself, the program that you would like to study, for example, psychology, and how this program will help you to achieve your future aspirations. And then we will need a reference from one of your teachers or counselors, a copy of your high school certificates, a photocopy of your passport, and IELTS or other English language tests that I mentioned, IELTS, TOEFL, or Cambridge. Just to mention here that when you apply for the program, you do not need to send all these documents, but because you are not going to have, for example, the high school certificate and the IELTS. But what we will need, we will need the application form, a personal statement, and a photocopy of your passport. And then we will send you an offer, a conditional offer, where we will ask for a high school certificate, a reference, for example, if you don't have it immediately, and the English language test. So this, I'm going to end the presentations, and if you have any questions, please either write them down in the chat, or you can unmute yourself again and you can ask me directly. Also, please take a picture of these slides, because we post a lot on social media, a lot of information. And also, if you have any question in the future, please email us in inquiries@richmond.ac.uk. So I'm going to stop sharing now, and I'll wait for your questions. Okay, so we have a few questions. I think, Bonnie, it's one for you.
Hi.
Yes, so Alexandra, it says, how much work is involved in taking a minor like marketing?
So taking a minor at Richmond is actually really easy. We have elective slots built into our degree pathways. So I think you get 4 as a psych freshman and then maybe 3 as a sophomore. I can't really remember exactly, but basically those electives, you can take like a class, like any class you want. It doesn't have to be in your major. And so you would fill up those slots with your elective classes. So instead of taking like art, you would take a bunch of marketing classes in those spaces, and it won't delay your graduation or anything because it's already built into your degree program. And sometimes they like double count. So it's usually 6 extra classes you have to take, but you can double count up to 3. So if a class counts for both your major and your minor, then 3 of them can double count. So then sometimes you only have to take 3 classes. But yeah, the staff was super helpful when I was adding a minor. I sat down with my academic advisor, and and she really helped me like plan out like exactly how my progression was going to go with adding my minor.
Exactly. So as I mentioned in the beginning, you will be appointed to personal academic advisor from the beginning, as soon as you arrive in the university. And then this academic advisor will sit down with you and make the plan for your 3.5 or 4 years program, so you can take the most of it. So we have another question. Do IB or AP credits transfer for US students, or do we take 4-year plan despite credits? No, if you do IB, yes, you will be exempted for a few modules. So yes, you can transfer these credits. And then another question for you, Bonnie. So what sort of things do you do in the psychology club?
So the psychology club at Richmond, they put on a few events throughout the year. They have career panels. They have like the Doug the Pug event. I think I'm not part of the club anymore, so I'm not really up to date about what's going on in it. But I'm sure Ira, who's the head of psychology, would be able to answer that for you more.
Yes, Ira. Yeah, Ira will go through that.
I will do.
Yeah. Hi, Ira.
Hello.
And so we have another question for you, Bonnie. So apart from the things you have already said, including location and the 2 degrees, what is something that you mentioned to your non-Richmond friends constantly brag about?
I think the building itself in Richmond, you've probably seen in pictures, it's beautiful. Like, it's absolutely amazing. People call it like the Hogwarts like on campus, because it does look like Hogwarts as well. There's a lot of like leadership opportunities here at Richmond that I feel like other schools don't have, because we are smaller. So there's like less, like you're able to get into those positions easier. And there's just a lot of opportunities for that, I think.
Yeah, it's a beautiful building, and it's a beautiful area, basically. I mean, being in London is it's extremely valuable for you because it's a very international city, first of all. As I mentioned, we have the two campuses, one in Richmond and one in Kensington. So you can walk, you can travel around those two campuses. And you can see that I mean, Ira will say more about how valuable London is in terms of the psychology. And she's going to go in internship. So she's going to say so much. I mean, I'm really passionate about psychology in Richmond. So then if we don't have any other questions. So we have another question. What would the equivalent of an Italian high school diploma? I don't remember. Yeah, we do have an equivalent. I will answer you individually. So I'm going to send you exactly what we need for that. Ira, if you would like to. I mean, for the US students, as I mentioned, we have the scholarships of, sorry, 1 second. So we have the scholarship 15,200, 19,000 and 23,000. And this is based on your GPA. So the higher the GPA, the higher the scholarship. Do you guys have more questions? Either for me or Bonnie? Yes, so Veronica is asking how she would get a scholarship. So the scholarships, as I mentioned, they are automatically awarded. So as soon as we get your transcript, we will see in which category you belong. For example, if you have met our requirements, if you are an EU student and you have met our requirements for one, then we will award you with 5,500. But it's an automatically awarded scholarship. And Valentina is asking, I didn't really understand the difference between major and minor. Do we have to take a minor? You do not need to take, it is not mandatory to take a minor, but it will complement your studies. And as I mentioned, if you study, for example, psychology and you take a minor in marketing, it will enhance your degree. It will enhance your skill sets when you go and find search for a job later. Another question we have, what paid jobs are available within the university? So we have the student services, where they have a lot of, they organize a lot of events, a lot of activities, and they always need students to help them. We have the ambassador schemes like Bonnie. And so you will be, I mean, you will find a lot of opportunities in the university. And also in London is like, it's a huge city, it's a big city, and there are so many jobs available for students available. So Veronica is, I'm joining the National Guard and they help pay. Could I still get the scholarships? To be honest, I am not aware of this, but please, Gemma from the admissions will be here. So I'm sure she has an answer for this question. And Belinda is asking, can students work off campus? Yes, of course you can work off campus. Of course, I mean, you will going to study 15 hours per week. So if you have time, for example, during Easter break, or Christmas break or summer, yes, you will have plenty of options to work off campus. Sonic is asking, what is the number of student intake for September 21, considering the pandemic? We are still, Sonic, we are still in the process of students applying. So I think by July, we will know, but we have a pretty good applications for this year. So I think I can see that people are very positive for the future, and they want to study and they want to continue their everyday life. So what is the housing like? So the housing, we have, as I mentioned, we have accommodation, on-campus accommodation, and we have single, double, triple, and 4-bed rooms, and the price vary according to what you would like to choose. And a question from Dominica is, what was last year's psychology major class size? I think this is a question for Ira.
Yes, you mean from fall 20, you mean in the pandemic year? I'm guessing you meaning in the pandemic year. Actually, we had a normal year in psychology. So the intake was around the 20 mark, like it is in other years. But overall, the intake fluctuates between 20 and 30 students as an intake. So overall, in the last 5 years, for example, we get every year around 20 to 30 students. So it's a good cohort, like there are enough people there for you to make friends, which is important, right? Because this is the time to make lifelong friends and to have a network of psychologists, because you're gonna need it when you are graduating, but it's not too big. It's still small enough for you to get individual attention and for you to be able to work with the academics, because larger numbers typically mean that you don't get that kind of time with the academics. So think that it fluctuates between 20 and 30, and last year actually we had a normal year. We had 18 or 19. So it didn't actually affect us like it affected other universities, which is a good thing.
Yes.
And everybody's doing fine online, actually. I know that that worries you, because I'm sure you had the online time already, and that is not ideal for anybody. Nobody likes it, right? Everybody wants to be back in the classroom. But even the online classes, we still had very good attendance. You know how you hear from the press and you hear maybe from school that people just don't come online? It's not the case in psychology. The first years were all in class, all of the time. If anything, we wouldn't manage to log off at the time where the class was finishing, because we were chatting about important things like psychological effects of the pandemic, for example, right? So it was still semi-normal, like what we would do in class. And yes, Veronica, I know you are a junior. You seem to have put that in the chat, but yes, be in touch and ask any questions that you might have in the application process, yes?
Yeah, I'm going to add the email of inquiries. And then we have another question. What is the acceptance rate onto the psychology course?
Oh, I'm not sure about that one, Eliana. I don't have it in front of me.
Elsa, we don't, here in the UK, it's a slightly different system in the US. So the acceptance rate doesn't quite work in the same way. But you're looking at around 25%, or between 20 and 30%, depending. That's generally for the university as a whole.
Shall we talk a little bit about the degree?
Yeah, I think we should move to the degree, and then we can have
yes, and then we can have questions as we finish with that information. Yes. So if you're having questions as I speak, just put them in the chat box, and then we can come back and revisit them, okay? You don't need to leave them to the end and then you forget and all that, although you can still email after. It's not really an issue, yes? It would be easier though if you just put it in the chat box and then we can have a discussion after. Can I share my screen? Could you
Yes.
make me multiple participants forever with this thing? Okay, let me just see. Just give me a second to actually get to this because it doesn't let me. Could you see, Eliana, if you can do it, because I don't think I have rights.
Would you like to, you should be able to, because you are co-host.
I don't know why it doesn't let me then.
Would you like to send the presentation to me?
Let me see, it might just be a case of just redoing it. Technology this year is ruling our lives. No,
We have
that
two
is
screens or?
No, that's really strange, isn't it? Yeah, you can share, yes? So I can send
Yes,
it.
send it to me.
I'll send it to you in
Yeah.
1 second, so then we can do it. It's a PDF because it works better than the presentation slides. Thank you, Eliana.
You're welcome.
Okay, done. That was fast. I have fast internet today, right? Okay, but I can start talking before we do that, okay?
Yes, yeah.
So you heard quite a bit today about the liberal arts system and that you will be doing a degree that is with combined studies, right? So the uniqueness of Richmond has to do with where the psychology degree is situated. So the psychology degree sits between the British system and the American system in Richmond. And what it does is make sure that it fulfills both the professional accreditation in the UK and Europe and the professional accreditation for psychologists in the US, okay? So it does what you would call the best of both worlds, right? So it does this thing of sitting in the middle and trying to get the best features of the UK system and the best features of the US system and bring them together. So the important thing to remember is what you're going to be doing here is do the science bit that is at the core of psychology, and you will be able to do a lot of also the humanity aspects of psychology. So the degree does really well all the UK core spec or specialization for psychology, which is very science-based, and it does also a lot of what the American system and the European system does, which is a lot more the humanities around that, like, for example, psychoanalysis is. So psychoanalysis, for example, that you have heard of Freud, right, is not part of what the UK system would do as a core of psychology, but we do it. So we do the bits that are in the middle that are very core to every psychological science. And then on top of that, we do a lot of options that will give you breadth in psychology, which is what the American system does really well. If you could move on to the first slide. Thank you, Eliana. So it's important for you to remember that for every psychology degree that you look at in the UK, that it is BPS accredited, right? It's not just a psychology degree at Richmond. It's really important for you that the degree is accredited or has the quality control assurance from the British Psychological Society, which is what the BPS stands for. So in the UK, it is really important that it is BPS accredited, because that means that then you can continue your studies in the UK at a master's and a PhD level. If the degree is not accredited, then it doesn't have that quality stamp that says is good enough for us to consider you as a graduate student. In the US, because I heard quite a lot of questions that seem to come from US students, in the US there is not the equivalent, because the APA, the American Psychological Association, does not accredit anything below a PhD, right? So they recognize degrees, but they don't put like a stamp on them and say this is a wonderful degree. It fulfills all the standards that we have been proposing. So this degree has the BPS accreditation, and we just got it renewed in January. So they came in January during a pandemic year. So imagine that, that was quite surreal, right? They were coming in and checking if everything was okay in the middle of all the chaos that we were all experiencing. And actually during that time, what they found was that everybody was doing a good job, especially the students. So the students were doing very, very well, and were doing amazing work, even under the pandemic circumstances, and the BPS was very happy. So they renewed the accreditation. So I know that you're looking at Richmond today, but in any UK institution, you need to make sure that it has a BPS accreditation. Otherwise, it's not worth your while, essentially. Now, the closest thing that you can do to an APA accreditation, which is the American Psychological Association accreditation, because they don't accredit anything below a PhD, is to actually be affiliated with them. And the way that Richmond is affiliated with them is that we have a Psychi chapter. So Psychi is an international honor society in psychology. They are under the APA, so the American Psychological Association, and the APS. They are affiliated with the American Psychological Science, and they are a more selective society than a club would be. You had questions before about if I belong to this society, do I get a scholarship? If I am there, what kind of things does the psychology club do? So there is the psychology club, and then on top of that, there is the Psychi chapter in Richmond. And the Psychi chapter does higher end kinds of work, like research, does looking at promoting well-being within the university. We are currently running a research project on well-being in the university. And the students who are members of the Psychi chapter got funding for implementing their proposals for the university. So they got a grant from Psychi to be able to do this. So this is the kind of work that you would do over and above the club. And so everybody's automatically a member of the club. You are a psychology student. You don't have to do anything about it. You're just automatically a member. So you can go out for drinks. You can go to movies. You can go to see the Freud Museum. You can talk about geeky psychology stuff, right? And hang out together. But then on top of that, we do other things like talks, like the research, which is really, really important, and looking at grants and supporting your work. For those of you who want to pursue a research career, which is something that we were not able to do before. So the Psychi chapter is running since 2018, and it's the only chapter in the UK, because we are the only BA in psychology in the UK that has the double accreditation, so that we straddle both sides of the Atlantic. It's very difficult for any other BA in the UK or BSc in the UK to get this, because they do not have the American side of things, right? So that tells you that the degree is also rubber stamped in the US, because for us to get the Psychi chartership, we had to fulfill all the accreditation standards of the APA. So it's the closest thing really that you're going to get to an accreditation. And that is important for you to know, especially for those of you who are planning to go back to the US, or you're planning to do London and then move to the US. So even those of you who are UK students and you want to go over there for a term, or you want to go and study there, it's important to have that stamp of approval. And that kind of membership is the membership that is for a lifetime. So it gives you an opportunity, access to grant and scholarships and to publication for the rest of your lives. So it is an amazing membership to have. So is the BPS accreditation. It gives you a chance to be a member of the BPS, and that gives you lifetime membership again. Actually, the students who are running the research on well-being, they got a grant, and because they were recipients of the grant, they now have been put forward as in the competition for a model chapter. So they are in the running for that, and they have produced a publication that is now under review. I mean, imagine being a senior student and you already have a publication under your belt, right? It's an amazing thing to put on your CV, but also an amazing experience for you to have had that kind of level of research while you are an undergraduate student. And there were quite a few students involved in that. So it's not an elitist kind of, I'm not stopping people from being involved. Actually, from year one, people can get involved in this. We have quite a few freshmen involved in that project right now. Of course, the seniors are writing up, of course, they're taking the lead, but you can get involved in this right off the bat as soon as you join. One more thing that is unique to Richmond is the kinds of partnerships that we have with other universities. I'm sure you would have heard about it under the study abroad, that you can go in other universities and study abroad for a year. A lot of psychology students have done that. They have gone to the US for a term or for a year and come back. Australia is another favorite. We're very compatible, and there are great internship opportunities for psychology students in Australia. But we're also kickstarting a partnership with the Chicago School of Professional Psychology, which is a huge psychology school in the US. I can send you a bit more information on that if you want, if you need any of that, or if you want to have a look at that. If you could just Google it, you're gonna find everything. But we recently put together a certificate program for students and for professionals on diversity. And a lot of our students took that certification, and that is linked to the APA. So you get APA credits, professional credits from that. So that partnership with the Chicago School is really enhancing your degree, because it gives you those kinds of opportunities of being able to work with them. They are focusing on clinical psychology. So a lot of them are clinicians, and actually the focus was on clinical groups. So how can you be a clinician who is mindful of equality, of equity, diversity, and inclusion? So we had two professionals from that school giving us a series of talks alongside a workshop, and everybody worked towards a certificate. Actually, we all did it. All of us did it. Students and professors and friends from other universities. So that's the way that this one worked. And the partnership has now been formalized. So you will soon see it on the website, as we are in an agreement, and we're looking to work together towards a master's pathway, where you do 1 year in London, 1 year in Chicago, or the other way around, based around the clinical psychology. And that is really important for students going forward. So we're looking to see if we can have that ready for actually your cohort. So people who are starting in 21. I'm not promising that it's going to be ready, but I think that it will be. We will manage to do this. And they were looking at taking the students that are already in the undergraduate program and fast tracking them in their masters. So that's a bonus, right? So it's another way of looking at what happens after I finish my BA. There will be a route for you that is ready there for you to take. In terms of internship opportunities, they really haven't stopped under the pandemic. We were really worried that people would not find internships over this period because obviously nothing was open, right? But actually everything moved online. So students recently have been doing internships actually online, supporting people who are in vulnerable positions, like the victim support kinds of charities. They worked with Mind, which is a mental health charity. They worked actually with a women's shelter for women who have experienced violence. And that whole lot moved online. So it continues also this summer. So a lot of the internship opportunities revolve around the clinical, around supporting others, or there might be research opportunities. So you would intern with a research group in another university to give you an insight into research somewhere else. The most recent one, the one that is going to happen during the summer, is students who are taking the research internship. They're going to be working on a project with local schools at the University of West London. So West London has a project that looks at disadvantaged children in schools and how to bring them up, how to support them, especially during the pandemic, that they didn't even have a laptop to connect to their lessons. And there are 15 schools involved in West London, and our students are going to be helping with that research. Some of that is going to be online, some of it is going to be at school because the schools are open now. But in the past, research opportunities have actually been to places like the UCL labs or the King's College labs, and people worked on addiction studies, people worked on depression studies, studies on autism, and several of our students actually worked in the Vision lab in UCL. That's the lab that got the Nobel Prize. So a lot of, because they know us, they ask us every year, do you have anyone who is research able at a high level to come and work for us? So there is quite a bit on offer in terms of the internships. The ones that are research like the Vision Lab this year was not possible, but the ones in schools are possible this year. So hopefully by next year, things will be all better with the pandemic, so we will be able to open up more of these opportunities. But they haven't stopped, and that's really important. Then students and faculty are members of our research center. That's the Mind in Society Research Center, and we conduct a lot of research that is educational or phenomenological, so more on the humanities side, a lot of interviews, looking at, actually we looked at the effects of the pandemic recently, so students have the opportunity to work on research that the faculty are working on. So you become research assistants with the faculty. And I usually ask, since you are in your first year. So I will say, does anybody want to be involved in research? Here is what is on offer. We can start you getting trained really early on. There is a course that we offer alongside your degree on counseling skills. So there is the main degree that we have been discussing about, and then you could also do, parallel to the degree, the counseling skills course. So we have offered this year level 1 and level 2. Level 2 is still running all the way to the summer, and we're planning to offer them again next year for the new students. Usually in that class, having run it this year, our current students are taking it who are thinking that they're going to be counselors or they want to be clinicians, if for nothing else to understand if this is the kind of thing that you want to do with your life, right? So to understand if counseling is for you. So think of the counseling skills as an add-on to the degree. It's not part of the degree, so it sits next to the degree so that you can actually think about how am I going to fit it in? Do I want to fit it in? And when? You're going to talk to us about it, and then we're going to have a plan. If you want to actually do this, when is the best time for you to do it? Because a lot of you have been asking, for example, can I work at the same time? So if you're thinking that you're going to be working, maybe the level 1 counseling skills, you don't take it in your first semester, you can take it in your second semester. Okay, but you will always have a discussion with us and we can point you in the right direction. That's really what is happening. And think about destinations. That's always important. Where do students go after this? Typical destinations are Russell Group universities in the UK, so Sussex, UCL, King's. Typical destination is UCL and King's. We have a little like corridor in the halls in King's where all the Richmond students stay. And I'm not kidding, right? They're sending me pictures where in the halls of residence saying, this is the Richmond corridor, and everyone who is there is actually from Richmond. UCL has a very good intake from us in terms of clinical and developmental psychology. That's typically what students do there. And another destination that it seems like a lot of people are interested in is forensic and criminology. So King's has an excellent program in that. We have a lot of students who have fast-tracked into the PhD for that. In the US, many students go to Columbia or NYU, typically for social psychology or for educational psychology. And those universities, they typically send an email every year saying, do you have any promising educational psychologists that you want to send us? So we have kind of like a rapport with those kinds of universities because students have been there before and they have done well. But a lot of students also go back home to their European homes, and they usually do very well in their European counterparts, so in universities back in Europe, and do their masters there in their PhD there. Typically though, most students would do a master's after or a PhD after because they want to train in something specific in psychology. Those who don't usually go into working with children or getting the teaching qualifications right after, or they go into marketing after and they do an MBA parallel to that. So those who don't want to continue their academic training, those are the kinds of jobs that they go into. If we move to the next slide, I will just go over what the degree typically looks like, and then we can have a look at the chat box. So, I mean, we can send Eliana this, can't we send it to everyone? So what you see here is really the combo of everything that you would have in front of you as opportunities, right? Some of you will have transfer credits, some of you have IP credits. So we're gonna have a look at your credits that you're bringing in, and you might actually be looking at a different combination of courses. But this is the layout of the degree. In the first year, you do 2 courses in psychology, foundations and history of childhood, and then you're doing your liberal arts core, tools of change, social change, visual thinking, and the research and writing course that is for every student. It will help you also with your degree. And as you see in here too, you're specializing more in psychology, so you're taking a lot more within psych, like statistics, human science research, that's qualitative research, a conceptual course in psych, developmental, biological psychology, and scientific reasoning. So that will give you a full year of research methods really in psychology, and then a bit of conceptualization in psychology, developmental, and bio. And in year 3, you will have the core of development, personality, social, and methods. And you have then options to choose that you see on the side, like minor language, psychopathology, psych and cinema. So those usually options are offered on a rotation. So it depends which semester you start to take them in. And then you can fit alongside that also a minor if you're taking a minor. Just to go back to that question about the minors, is not mandatory, the minor. A lot of students in psychology choose to do a minor that would fit in with what their career goals are. So if they want to go into marketing or consumer behavior, they will do a marketing minor alongside, and they can fit it in across the first 3 years, essentially. So instead of all of your options in psych, you will take some options in psych and some in marketing. What has been a new trend is for a lot of students to want to go into neuroscience, or they want to go to clinical psychology with medical applications after. And for those students, we typically say you need to do a math minor alongside, because you're gonna need your math skills when you're gonna hit the neuroscience level of masters. So we have 3 students at the moment taking a minor in math alongside that will later help them with that. And that actually opens up other opportunities like masters in artificial intelligence or in cognitive science, where you need to be strong in math or in coding. Some students are going to be taking a minor in coding or coding classes because they want to go into artificial intelligence after. In year 4, again, you see some core courses like cognitive science, cognitive neuro, developmental psychopathology, and your 2 final year projects, one in quantitative and one in qualitative methods. You will be more than ready to do a master's. You will have done more work here than you would have done in a master's, but that is because we want to be able to fast track you if you're ready towards a PhD. And a lot of students do that. They fast track into a PhD, and that essentially saves you a year. And it does save you money if you're ready for that. Of course, you need to keep up your grades and all of this, but quite a few students are able to do this. And in year 4, you also have these options that you see on the side to study clinical psychology, to study memory and awareness, happiness and well-being, psychoanalysis. So there is quite a bit on offer. If you have a look at it, essentially what it does, the degree is, does the core really well that everybody needs to know, no matter where they are as a psychologist, and then it offers a lot of options around that so that you can explore what kind of psychologist you want to be, because that is really important for us. We need to understand what kind of psychologist we are. Shall we, I think the next, actually, it's a slide with our emails, but we can have a look at the questions in the chat box, shall we?
So I can stop sharing.
Yeah, let's stop sharing, and if we need to share again, we can do it again.
All right.
So let's have a look at the questions that you have here. Okay, let me just go up.
So we have a few interested about the master that you mentioned. So you have good students in the future.
Yes, yes. So let's see. Hold on, let me just go up. And Valentina is asking, do you have to take an introduction to psychology before applying? No, you don't. So if you haven't taken an introduction to psychology, you will take it with us. That's the foundation of psychology course. So you will take it with us unless you have done it before. There are some students who have done foundations in psychology, or they have done A-level psychology, and that would transfer in as the foundation. So you don't double do it. But Valentina, for sure, you don't need to do it ahead of time. And I'm guessing you're coming from the Italian system. I was coming from the Greek system. We had no introduction to psychology in that system. You either did Latin or ancient Greek or history, and that was it. So you don't have to. You can start from the beginning of the foundation. So we assume that you are brand new to this and willing to learn. That's it.
So we have a little bit, I need to go to scroll up because there are a few more.
Okay.
Okay, you did that, great. So what should I do to guarantee my admissions in the school, and what are college essay about? So in order for us to enter our university, you need to achieve the grades in your high school. And Veronica, are you from US? I think, right, because of your questions. If you are from US,
So.
then you're not going to need an English language test, but if you are from Italy, we might need the English language test. And regarding the essay, as I mentioned, we will need you to write a little bit about yourself, about the program, and how the program will help you with your future aspiration. I mean, Gemma is here. She's going to talk a little bit later after we finish the questions about the essays. So please stay with us a bit longer.
Okay, so Nick is asking, oh no, Alexandra is asking.
Alexandra, yes.
Nick's iPad is asking, that happens to me all of the time. I log on and it's my daughter's name on it. So fantastic. What are the other internship opportunities? So the research opportunities that I mentioned before are quite substantial. So people have done before research at King's University on addiction and on autism, gender differences. So they were not looking at therapy for autism. They were doing research about how are different how are children treated differently if they are a male or a female with autism. Okay. They have also done quite a few HR and marketing type of opportunities. So for example, a couple of years ago, a student worked with a marketing and advertising company. And what she did was use cognitive principles, so what she learned about the brain, to filter the website, to make sure that the website worked really well for the customers. So she did what you would call human-computer interaction as part of the artificial intelligence masters, essentially. And that's what she's doing now. She's doing a PhD in artificial intelligence. So those are the kinds of things: HR, marketing, working in advertising. Quite a few students have actually also done research in depression, not therapy, right? So again, looking at samples that are clinical, but you're doing the research bit of it. You're not actually helping people. It's not a talking kind of therapy.
What we have another question. Once you get the degree of psychology from Richmond, and I would decide to go to America, would I have to do an exam of APA, or is it affiliated? And
no, you don't need to do an APA exam. You will need to do the master's entry exam, like you would do for anything. So you will need to do the kind of entry exam for the university, not specifically to convert your BA. So it's compatible. Yes.
Okay. So we had I think you already answered the questions if there are research options which are non-clinical.
Yep. Veronica is asking if she needs to talk to her counselors to send the transcript. I'm guessing so.
Yes, I mean, after you apply, we will need the transcript. So you have to contact your your school basically, and to provide you with the transcript.
Yes, so the questions about the masters. So the masters would be a 2-year, like the American one would be, right? So we're looking to have a clinical master's in place, but even if it is not in place by the time that you are finishing, what we are discussing with the Chicago School is if you can be fast-tracked into their existing masters. right? Because that is really important for you to have that kind of opportunity to enter a clinical master's as quickly as possible. It's really difficult for undergraduate students to enter directly into a clinical master's for the obvious reason, right? Are you ready to work with people who have schizophrenia? It's not an easy task. It's a very demanding task, and it's a dangerous task if you think about it, both for you and for a client. So yes, this degree prepares you to become a counselor, like Veronica is asking. It prepares you to become a clinician, and we are in discussions for you to be able to, for students to be able to be fast-tracked or to actually enter the master's if it is ready. It should be ready by the time that you guys will be graduating, if you're starting in September 21. But if that is not ready, then the fast-tracking will be ready. And they're really, really keen on our students because in the US, they do a lot less research as undergraduate students. So the undergraduate students in the US, they're not ready for a clinical master's, but our students are, because the UK system does a lot of research. And that's what I mean by the best of both worlds, right? You get the best from the UK and you plug it into an American system. It wasn't plug and play, I can tell you that much. But now it works really, really well. It's very beneficial for you. Yes.
We have a question.
Can I also say that for those of you who want to do counseling as a therapist, that's why we're offering the counseling skills on the side, because typically undergraduate students are not allowed to do the counseling skills during their degree because you're considered too young. So we want to at least introduce you to that. So it is a safer, it's outside the degree so that it is a safer environment for you to be able to do these counseling skills that involve a lot of talking, right? And it's not the same thing as being in class. It's not. It's a skills-driven course. So yes, so you would be able to do this counseling course alongside your degree. So you basically getting the two certifications at the same time instead of waiting until you finish and your 4 years.
Another question is, could I minor in a foreign language class to French if possible? So we have, every year we have new minors, and I think we used to have European languages, but I think this year we have Korean and Chinese as a minor. So probably we will introduce again in the future more European languages. So yes, I would say yes. Another question is, how is the course graded? Exams, coursework?
Yes, so typically it is a mix of an exam and coursework. You're looking at 2 pieces of work as you get into your second, third, fourth year, but usually in the first year we ask you for a coursework, an exam, and possibly a midterm because we want to see where you're at. It's your first year, so we want to see if you're doing okay. And it's also better for you to know where you're at in the middle of the first term, yes? So it is a combination. It's definitely never going to be 100% exam like it is in the British system. That never happens. And there is a lot of applied work. So we do mostly not essays. So you would do critical chapters, you would do proposals for books, you would do proposals for research, write up your own research. Last year, students in health psychology did a patient leaflet looking at pain and chronic pain. So they did the actual work that the health psychologists would do. In psychopathology, you do case analysis. And in happiness and well-being, you do a portfolio of learning, so a learning journal. So you do quite a lot of applied stuff that we do need in psychology. Yet another essay is not really useful in psych, right? You need to know how to write patient reports. So we typically do that kind of work, plus an exam. And the exam could be also applied. It could be that for the exam, you actually need to write a proposal, which is something that we do quite often in the research courses. We prep you for that, don't worry. It might sound scary now. Oh my God, I'm gonna write a patient leaflet. You're gonna be ready by that time, don't worry. Thank you, Tarin. She seems to be...
We have question about Bonnie was here, but she has to go. So the question is regarding dorms. So Veronica is asking as well about the dorms. So the cost, yes, thank you, Dominica. So people are communicating with each other, which is great because
fantastic.
Yeah, it's like a community. We will help each other.
I love the bonding that can happen over Zoom.
Yes, yes.
Fantastic, isn't it?
So yes, there is a PDF with all the prices on the website. So as I mentioned, the dorms are the typical American dorms where we have single, double, triple, and fourth beds in the room. And of course, you share the room with other students. You might have, I think you will have like a small fridge in the room for you, and of course we have the canteen where students eat lunch, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And then we have a question: what is the psychology pass rate?
Ayla, do you mean how many students pass the courses?
Yes,
like
I think so.
Or finish the degree? Oh, pass the courses. Okay. So the majority of students pass the courses. Typically, psychology students are very good students. So no pressure, no pressure. But usually what happens is this. The truth is that some students are weaker than others. Yes, of course. But the small nature of the university allows you to pull up your grades when we see that you are, not you specifically, when we see students are not coping with the work. So we have systems in place, the instructor, the advisor, actually the wider community in the psychology degree, so other students will flag that, so we will be able to support you. So it's typically that most students will pass the courses. Very few students do not. Actually, the aim is not to pass the course in psychology. Most students are aiming for at least a B in psychology. It sounds competitive, but that's what you're aiming for, to be able to get into your psychi chapter, to be able to get into your BPS. It's very competitive at the master's level. So you're aiming to get the high grades, and we will help you to get there. The point that we're making is allowing you to scaffold you there, right? So you will say, I struggle, I haven't understood how to do this. Assignment, can we have a meeting? So you're in contact all of the time with us. You cannot get away from us, that's the point, or from other people really, and we will be able to support you. Not you specifically, any student really. And then at the top end, so at the top end, it's also, if you think about it, problematic if no one is pushing you, right? You shouldn't be coasting. So if you're finding the material is relatively straightforward, you should be pushed further. The small place allows you to do that. So in the past, those students who are excellent, we give them additional work to do if they want to do that, or they get involved in research so that then they will be able to reflect that in their work.
Yes, and then we have, so Dominica saying that she's coming from the UK system, so, and she's curious about the shared room dorms. So I always say to the students, if you have seen the movies with colleges in US, it's exactly the same. Like they share, you'll be shared the room with two people, like you're going to have your own, and the other people, the person will have their own bed and their own area. And I mean, students have made friends for life by living together. And
yes.
Of course, if you have any friends, for example, or you know somebody that is applying to Richmond and you would like to stay together, we do take that into consideration when you apply for the rooms. And of course, I mean, we are all individuals and we have all our issues, for example. So if you have an issue with your roommates, then we have the accommodation officer who is going to help with all these things.
Can I just add, as soon as we have a bit more information about the Chicago school and what we're doing over the summer, we can pass it on. So if you send us an email over the summer, if you want an update, because of course you're interested in that fast tracking of the masters and so, of course. And that's why we're doing it, right? Because it's a great opportunity. So as soon as we have a little bit more like substance to it and we will be able to communicate it, we will do so. So you just need to remind us over the summer, send an email and ask. I could actually share what, shall I try to share again? I could share
we will send, don't worry, we will send this information in an email.
Okay, so yeah. I will also send you the certificate that we have done with them so that you know more or less what we are talking about. I'll send it to you, Eliana, so you can share it with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yes, there is a WhatsApp group, especially now during the pandemic. They have been really, really useful as support groups. But also the psychology club, they're holding meetings and actually I think a yoga class too. So getting together and relaxing a little bit just before the exams. And once we are back on campus, there's also the puppy that comes in. Our favorite.
Oh yes, I know.
Have you seen him, Eliana? Oh my God. So the psychology club, they bring in this therapy puppy and he's having cuddles from everybody and everybody just relaxes during the exam period by cuddling this lovely puppy. He's amazing. So cute.
So guys, we need to move to the last session quickly because we are already late. So
sorry. Always talking too much.
You have too many to say about the psychology, that's why.
I'm sorry. I'm an academic. That's what I do. I talk.
Gemma, if you would like to share a few information with us.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, Ira.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Gemma and I work in the admissions office. So I'm really here to answer any admissions related queries that you might have. I think some questions may have already come up in the process of the chat, but if there is anything else that you'd like to ask at this stage, so whether it's about applying, entry criteria, or housing, visas, scholarships, we're here to answer any questions that you might have.
I'm trying to think a question I had before, and I said I'm sure that Gemma will know more about that.
Okay, let's have a look. So there's a question from Veronica regarding her GPA. So have you applied? I'm guessing you're based in the US, Veronica. And yes, there we go. Absolutely. So yeah, that GPA is brilliant. That's a perfect GPA for admission and also for receiving a generous merit-based scholarship. So if you haven't, you're in your final year now? Are you in grade 12? 11th. Okay, so you're looking for next year. We don't have the scholarship criteria confirmed for the 2022 entry, but based on previous experience and based on previous trends, I can assure you that if you can maintain that GPA, the 3.7 or around that mark, then that's a really strong GPA, and you would certainly be in line for one of our scholarships, if not the top one. Based on this year's criteria, you would be eligible for the top scholarship, which is $23,000. So it's pretty generous. So keep working hard. You're on the right track, and keep that GPA where it is, and that would be brilliant.
Also, Veronica asked a question before, which I wasn't able to answer. And I said, when Gemma is here, then I'm going to ask her. She said that I'm joining the National Guard and they help pay. Could I still get? But the scholarship, it hasn't to do with, the scholarship has to do with the GPA, not with.
So the scholarships that we can award, the admission scholarships that we can award are merit-based awards based on your school leaving qualification, whatever that is. So if it's a high school diploma, we'd be looking at your GPA. If you're doing A-levels, we'd be looking at your A-levels. If you're from Italy, we'll be looking at your Italian diploma, and so on and so forth. But if you are able to, if you have other scholarships that you'd like to add on to that, then external ones or private scholarships, is that what she means, Eliana?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, then you can add on private scholarships to that, as long as it's something that can be used outside of the US. So certainly when you're doing, say, a FAFSA, there are certain grants that and scholarships that are available to students, but aren't necessarily applicable if you're studying outside of the US, which is what you would be doing if you came to Richmond. So you need to be careful there. But if you're talking about private scholarships from a club or an association, then in most cases, they can be added on to be offset against your tuition.
Okay.
I hope that answers the question.
So there is another question from Catherine. She says, she's asking, I'm a UK student and resident with A-levels and 2 diplomas. Is it just student finance I would be eligible for?
No, so for UK students, Catherine, we will, we express, I mean, most students will be taking A-levels, but many will be taking combinations of A-levels and diplomas. When you say diplomas, I'm guessing you might be referring to a BTEC or something like that. So if that's not the case, then please correct me. But what we would actually do is convert your offer into tariff points rather than expressing it as A-level or diploma requirements. So you would need the 96 tariff points for admission, and provided you meet that requirement, then you would also be eligible for a scholarship. And that for UK students, the scholarship that we offer, the Liberal Arts Award, is £3,085, because it bridges the gap between the tuition fees and the maximum loan that you can get from Student Finance England. So yes, provided you meet the criteria for entry, then you will get the scholarship as well. It doesn't have to be, okay, here we go. Oh, right, okay, yeah. So we'll take a look at your most recent qualifications, and whatever that is, we will assess that separately, and hopefully you'll be eligible for one of our awards. But sounds good. From what I can see, sounds good. Obviously, we'll need to take a closer look, but from what I can see here in the chat, it all sounds fine to me.
And then we have, do you know about this, Gemma? I live in Richmond, she said, I know about transport discount. Can I apply before joining in September? Is the uni registered for this scheme? I think our students,
Yeah, we are registered with the scheme, Alexandra, so that's not a problem. But what happens is you apply through the TfL website. But of course, what do TfL do? They send an email to us and say, is this person a student? And we confirm, yes, they are, no, they aren't. So if you were to do it now, unfortunately, we can't confirm that you're a student with us. So this usually happens in orientation week. Once you've enrolled, we'll be able to confirm that you are in fact a student, and then you'll receive that TfL student Oyster discount. But I'm afraid it's not something that you can be granted now and before you enroll at the university. Okay, Veronica is taking AP class. Right, AP, mostly for English and history. I get a diploma for literature. If I pass, would that help me skip some English, or do I still have to take it? Okay, so with APs, if you're sitting, as long as you're sitting the AP exams, we can consider your results as transfer credit, but you have to sit the AP exam. So I know some students will follow AP classes or IB classes sometimes, but not actually sit the exam. So we can only consider transfer credit if you sit the AP exams. So if you do sit them, once you get the results from the College Board, you just get them to send them to us. And if you score 3 and above in APs, you can be considered for advanced credit, which will knock out some of the classes from the general education sort of, well, not actually just specifically general education, even some of your major requirements, but only at level 3, so first year classes. I hope that answers your question. Okay.
Yeah, so we need to wrap up, guys. If you have any last questions.
Okay, so Veronica, you're looking for next year. Okay, that's fine. So any AP exams you do, once you've got the results, you can just send them to us. And with the ACT, yes, you can send that along too. And if you've sent it already, I'm sure we have it, but we'll consider that along with your application once you apply.
So Alexander is asking what happens in orientation week.
Yeah. So orientation week, Alexandra, is the kind of equivalent of what, Freshers Week in the UK. So it's the first week of enrolling at the university. So we look at a number of different things during orientation. It's sorting out any final registration things, any final funding queries. It's moving into your dorm. It's taking any placement tests and getting ready to register for classes by the end of the week. So it's a kind of week of preparation with a view to starting your classes and starting your degree the following week. It's not all, it's a balance between social stuff and settling into university life, but there are also some really important steps that we need to take so that you can actually start your classes, and that's things like placement tests, registering for your classes, learning how to use the university portals and systems, logging onto your email. So it's a balance. Most people are obviously predominantly interested in the fun side of it, and it is a lot of fun, but there's also some important kind of preparative steps as well that take place during orientation.
Mm-hmm. And then Dominica is asking, during the breaks, such as a Christmas holiday and such, do we have to leave our dorms? So our dorms are from September to December, and then January to May, I think.
Yeah. So traditionally, a lot of students do go home over these breaks. You paid for your room for the whole year, but the semester dates are the ones that Eliana mentioned. Some students do wish to stay over Christmas break, and that can be, depending on what's going on campus, that can be arranged separately on occasions directly with the housing team in student affairs. But in most cases, students will be going home for the holidays, but you can obviously leave your stuff in your room. When it comes to the summer, obviously the contract for housing ends at the end of the spring semester, which is end of April, beginning of May. So at that point, you would have to then move everything out. But you can leave your stuff over Christmas, and on case-by-case basis, stay over Christmas if you need to, but it's not common.
Another question is, how quickly after enrolling can I set my minor? UK student, she's a UK student. I'm highly interested in Korean. So it's, when you will going to, I think the minor is going to be in the second year, Gemma, right? If I'm not wrong.
Sorry, caught me just at the moment. Sorry. Yeah, no, if you're really sure about what you want to do, then you can certainly, when you're registering for your classes, you can, I think if you already have an idea about studying a minor, then you can raise that with your advisor during your advising session, because I think it's good to sort of have that in your mind and start planning how you're going to achieve those steps. But yeah, it's not something that you have to decide immediately. because the classes that go towards your minor, some of them are from the first year, but they're also classes from second and third and fourth year. So there's plenty of time for you to think about that anyway. But yeah, if you already have an idea of what you might like to do, then by all means, get the ball rolling and start talking to your advisor about it. But if there are other people here who are thinking about taking a minor but not sure yet, then it's not something you have to decide immediately. For Veronica, I would say, Veronica, if you're taking AP's exams at different times and you might be taking some more, I would probably wait until you're at the stage of applying so that you can send those APs with your application. That's what I would advise at this stage, just so we keep them all together and we can allocate them to your application record straight away.
So if you guys don't have any other questions, I think we will end our session. Thank you so much for coming today. It was an amazing session. Thank you for the questions. If you have more questions in the future, please do not hesitate to contact us either through social media or through inquiries at richmond.ac.uk. And admissions. So Gemma added admissions at richmond.ac.uk. So thank you so much. It was a really delight to have you all here.
Thanks, everyone.